First of all, welcome to our first ever Insignia display, being done virtually and filmed. Usually we do these face-to-face. Paul, my mayoral attendant slash driver slash, well, you're everything, aren't you, Paul? Mace bearer, mayoral ninja, basically, goes out and we do these in groups, and we have groups up to the parlour. But unfortunately, because of COVID-19, we can't do that at the moment. So we thought we'd do it this way. We'd create a video for you to be able to see the borough's insignia and find out more about the mayoralty and what I do as mayor. So who am I? I am Councillor James Hunt. I'm a councillor for Blackfin and Lammerby ward. I've been a councillor for about 14 years now. And last year I was deputy mayor. So this year I've had a promotion. I've gone from the little chain, which you'll see in a bit, to the bigger chain, which is quite nice. And I've always wanted to be mayor. Now that's a bit sad really, because most people want to be famous, they want to be rock stars, or they want to be footballers, or they want to do something more impressive, but I've always wanted to be mayor. And it really started when I met my first mayor, Councillor Colin Tandy, or former Councillor Colin Tandy, when he was mayor, and he presented me with my sailing badge when I was in the Cubs, which I was really impressed about. And I saw him and I met him, and he had all his robes and everything on, and this great big gold chain, which I get to actually wear today. So yeah, that's who I am. I think really, Paul, the important thing here is to find out about who you are and what you do, because actually mayors come and go, and you know we get replaced every year, but you're always here. So Paul, come and tell us about you. Come over here. Come and join me, Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No, thank you. But now, obviously, the social distancing.
Yes.
We need to stay apart for this. So
absolutely.
We should be staying about 2 metres apart.
Yes.
We're going to try and do that. I mean, obviously, I'm a bit portly, so I want to make sure that we can keep that. But
same here, Mr. Mayor. Yeah. So as the Mayor said, my name's Paul. I'm the Mayor's chauffeur, attendant, mace bearer. 3 parts to my job. Just very quickly, my nickname is Farmer. And I'll tell you about it just quickly. Councillor Pallen gave me that nickname when she was mayor about 5 years ago. We went to a scout hut, and there's a famous film called The Bodyguard, and I don't think she thinks I look like Kevin Costner, but she said when I'm next to her looking after her, she feels very, very safe.
Oh, so Paul, are you going to lift me up and there's going to be music and you're going to run out the building?
Absolutely. Me. Any other duties?
I'd like to see you lift me up,
So
Paul.
Thank you, Councillor Pallen, for those kind words and for a cool nickname. So the first part of my role is the Mayor's chauffeur. I'm sure you all know what that means. It means a driver, but I don't like to be called the Mayor's driver, as the Mayor called me a couple of minutes ago, because anybody drives, but not anybody can be a professional chauffeur.
Sorry, Paul.
That's fine, Mr. Mayor. You'll learn it as we go.
I will, Paul.
I've passed my advanced driving test, ROSPA to gold standard, and if you look that up on Google, less than 1% of 100 people that take the test reach gold standard, so I'm very proud of that. So that's my chauffeuring duties. The attendant duties are to look after the Mayor, and normally I would dress the Mayor in the robes that you see to my right there, but thankfully because of social distancing, the Mayoress has agreed to dress the Mayor in the robes. And if you look behind the Mayoress, you'll see a sandwich and a packet of crisps and some water. When I came in today, I didn't know if the Mayor was coming straight from work, so as a good attendant would do, I got the Mayor a sandwich and some water and a crisp.
Oh, I didn't realise they were for me. I thought that was your lunch.
No,
oh,
Mr.
lovely.
Mayor, they're for you. And that's what a good attendant does. It thinks outside the box, looking after your Mayor. Mace bearer is the final part of my duties. This is the mace, and bearer means to carry. Now, years ago, this was a fighting weapon of war. If it was like 200-300 years ago, and we was in this position with the Mayor and myself, there weren't any police, so I would use this as a weapon to protect anybody that come to try and take the Mayor's gold, or try to harm the Mayor, or take the chain of office. So this is obviously now just a symbol of the Mayor's authority. That's why it's so big. If you look on the front there, can you see that? That's the Queen's stamp. So if I lost the mace, not only would I be in trouble with the Mayor, but I'd be in trouble with the Queen, because we'd have to go and see her again to get her to give us the Queen seal. On the front of the mace is the coat of arms, which I'll tell you about in a moment. It's silver gilt and weighs about 11 kilos. It's quite heavy. I used to be 6 foot tall before I started carrying this.
You was.
Pause for laughter. So the fighting weapon of war. People say, well, why didn't they used to have a sword back in those days? Why the mace?
Why didn't they have a sword back in those days?
Oh, thank you for asking, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome.
Because the sword was good. If you had one person come to attack the Mayor or the Lord, a sword was quite effective. But if you had 3 or 4 people, you needed an item that you could wield and very quickly, and without being too graphic, because I don't know my audience, A sword, yes, with one person, but with lots of people, the mace was more effective until the guns came along. Once the gun came along, then the mace became obsolete, really. And now I said it's just carried as a form of, to show the mayor's importance. Quite often children say, have you ever hit anyone with it? And is there any blood on it? I say, no, of course not. I've cleaned the blood off.
Let's not let the mayoress have it, because then she might try and hit me with it.
No, I can't believe that, Mr. Mayor. So that's the mace. What we're going to now is the coat of arms, if that's okay with you, Mr. Mayor.
I'll go this way and let you walk around.
Thank you. So, just to tell you a little bit about the borough and the coat of arms, some schools have coat of arms and badges, and some posh families have coats of arms. So, this is the Bexley coat of arms. In 1965, we become the London Borough of Bexley. Before that, you had Crayford and Erith, Old Bexley, and Chislehurst and Sidcup, and you'll see those chains behind me there. And in a while, we'll zoom in so you can see those chains. So in 1965, like all boroughs, Lewisham, Wandsworth, they all became London boroughs and all amalgamated the 4 town councils. So at the top there is the White Horse of Kent. Now the reason that's on there, we are the London borough, we are a London borough, but we're the last London borough until you go into Kent. So the mayor's very lucky, gets invited into London, but also we get invited into Kent. So the Invicta Horse. Underneath there is like a turreted building. And Napoleon III had that built, and he used to live in a house called Camden House up on the Chislehurst Common, and it's now called Camden Chislehurst Golf Club. Very, very posh golf club. And he lived in there, and he had that built, and that was called the Gateway to Kent. And the bicycles and the horse and carts used to go through there, and he loved that building. But obviously, once they invented the double-decker bus, you can guess what happened. It got wedged.
I imagine.
And they had to, so what they would do today, they would have built a roundabout, and we could have kept that fantastic building. But back in those days, they suddenly demolished it because it was no good now for the big lorries and the buses. The Gateway to Kent. Under there is a knight's helmet, and that's for the Knights of Erith. Now we know very little about the Knights of Erith, only that they were people that were born of noble blood. And there's a fantastic film called A Knight's Tale. It's about a young man who wants to become a knight. He's got all the skills, he goes in all the competitions, but they find out that he wasn't born of noble blood. And so he gets into trouble. So yes, it's the Knights. There's a little plaque down by the riverside in Erith. It says the Knights of Erith lived here, stayed here for a while. What I heard is that they used to joust. You know jousting when you go through with the horses?
Oh, yeah.
And they used to knock each other off the horse, and whoever used to win used to be able to go through the McDonald's drive-through on the horse. Yeah. And if you lost, you went through the KFC.
And luckily, for the purpose of this video, they're now open again.
Yes.
They've been closed for a long time, which has been difficult.
But I don't think that's true, Mr. Mayor, somehow. I think that if you lost, you went through McDonald's, and if you won, you went through the KFC.
Ah, yes. Insignia Tower.
Underneath the helmet is the best part of the coat of arms, I feel, my favourite part, is the Charter Oak Tree. Now they signed the charter in 1937 for the old borough of Bexley to become a municipal borough. And there is a video of that on the bygone years, fantastic if you can see that. And there was thousands of people in Danson Park. And so it was signed under that tree between Danson House and the lake, and it's all fenced off now. Now when I started doing this job, Mr. Mayor, I used to say, oh, it's over 250 years old. But now it's getting more to nearly 300 years old. Because
Have you been here that long, Paul?
I have, Mr. Mayor. Makes me feel very old.
And I thought you were only 65.
I've had a hard life.
You have had a hard life.
In 1987, the younger people watching this won't know this, but you can ask your mums and dads, a great storm swept through Bexley. And in 1 hour it came through Lewisham, Bromley, Greenwich, and it hit Bexley.
I remember
and came out the other side, do you remember?
I do.
15th of October. I remember the 15th because that's our payday. So it's an easy date for me to remember. Mr. Mayor, how many trees do you think come down?
You never told me there was a question and answer session on this.
Just put you on the spot. How many trees come down in Bexley in 1 hour?
In 1 hour?
In 1 hour.
50.
50?
50.
Maris?
Half of them.
Half of them. Oh, good answer.
Oh, very
It was
clever.
23,000.
20, seriously?
And one. So.
And one.
And one.
23,001.
Yes, that's true, because in the official book that I read it from the council's notes, it said 23,000 trees came down. I spoke to a gentleman last week, he said his tree came down and he never told anyone. So that's
20,000 on what? Very
So
thank you,
if
Paul.
anyone else has had a tree come down in that storm, ask your mums and dads, write it into the mayor, and
Yeah.
then we can get those figures correct.
23,002 maybe.
Yes. So underneath the tree is the three rivers of Bexley, the River Thames, the River Cray and the River Shuttle. They're our three rivers. The cog at the bottom represents our factories that we've got in the borough. There was more many years ago, Pirelli tyres, Calendar cables, VCD Vickers, ammunition factory. They employed 15,000 people. So it was important in those times that we had big factories that could employ all our mums and dads and our granddads.
Our borough's had a great industrial past, and it's getting better. We've got
Yes.
lots of new factories. And
Yes,
buildings
yes,
up
it's
and
on the climb again, which is fantastic. So either side of the coat of arms are two stags, and that was from Lord Eardley, and he was a very, very wealthy man, but he was a very kind and generous man, and he was so posh that his family had their own coat of arms, and amongst the coat of arms were these two stags, and he gave money to build the churches and to build the schools and that play area up in Upper Belvedere. He really did give lots of money, yeah. So he was so generous, the council said, look, let's put his stags on our coat of arms, and then we can always remember Lord Eardley. Last but not least is the council's motto, which came from the old Crayford coat of arms, which is boldly and rightly. Now, I can only talk about the department that I work for. I don't know about brown bins or the potholes or street lights, any of those things. But with the mayoralty, we do it boldly and rightly. And today, not big time Charlie, but we've got all the chains out, we've got the mace out. It would be quite easy just to get the roads out, wouldn't it? But the mayor said, let's do it properly.
No, let's get it all out. Let's get the
boldly and
silver
rightly.
out.
So there's the coat of arms.
Cool.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're okay.
Right, so if I could just ask the Mayor a couple of questions that the children normally ask at this point. I've got a couple written down.
Oh, good. And this is the point where you see the terror in my eyes.
So, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
have you always wanted to be Mayor? I know you touched on this earlier.
Yeah.
And if not, when did you realise that you wanted to be the Mayor of Bexley?
So earlier on, I told the story about when I met former councillor Colin Tandy. I
Yeah.
also met another former mayor, Ron Briley. Was Ron Briley?
Ron Briley was
Yep.
Mayor, yes.
So two times. So I met Colin first, and I was in the Cubs, and I wanted to be mayor. I met him. Great guy. In fact, actually, when I became a councillor, he was still a councillor, so I got to spend time with him. I used to sit with him occasionally on planning meetings where he talked a lot about flood defences and trains, interestingly enough.
Okay.
And I met Ron as well because it was in the old parlour in the old building, and I got an Education Achievement Award when I was at school. I went to Westwood, and he presented it to me, and I was one of the first kids from school to get one. So
Okay,
yeah,
brilliant.
I really liked the gold. I was impressed.
Right, yes. Yeah, for me, Mr. Mayor, the chain of office is everything. The chain of office, when you've got that on, you know the mayor's arrived. For me, do you know what I mean? So now that you're the mayor,
you know when I arrived, because I'm usually like a metre behind you. So you know,
2 metres.
2 metres behind you. Thank you,
yes.
dear.
Now that you're the mayor, does the ice cream van stop right
Oh.
outside your house?
As you might guess, I've got an affinity with ice cream anyway, Paul. The ice cream van does stop outside, but I think it's purely because we've got a parking space outside that you can slip into.
Okay.
Unfortunately, though, I don't get any freebies, and that's the
You
great
don't get
thing.
an extra flake.
I don't get an extra flake. I would love an extra flake, and if you're watching this, I would love an extra flake.
Fantastic. Do you live in a mansion, Mr. Mayor?
No, I don't, Paul. I did check when I became mayor whether or not I got the keys to Danson House, and apparently not. It's not seemed acceptable. But then we have converted the top floors into offices, and there aren't any beds anyway. But no, I live in a very modest end of terrace house in Blackfen.
Okay, Mr. Mayor. And what are your chosen charities for this year?
So this year, Paul, I have set up the Mayor's Appeal, which you can go to if you go to www.thebexleyappeal.co.uk. Is it .co.uk or .com? It's .co.uk. And so, fundraising for my appeal, I've this year decided to predominantly sponsor 3 core areas, which are Bexley's Looked After Children. As a corporate parent, and you're a corporate parent too in Bexley, we have between 200 and 300 children which we look after. And they're our looked after children, those really special kids that the council has to care for. And so I decided that I want to raise some money to look after them, get them some extra events and stuff this year and give as much back as we can. And then the other 2 charities are Crossroads Care and Carer Support Bexley, because I really want to support groups this year, especially because of the coronavirus and the situation we're all in, that actually look after and care for our vulnerable. And those 2 charities as well support and look after the most vulnerable residents in our borough. So I'm really keen to make sure we can do extra.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well
So,
said.
Paul, what was the website? It's www.thebexleyappeal.co.uk.
Fantastic. So apart from the Mayoress being a fantastic support to you, which
Oh.
I know she is, does the Mayoress have a day job?
She does. You do, don't you?
I do. I'm
Do you
a
want-
nurse.
do you want me to talk about it?
You
or-
can talk about
No,
it.
no, you come tell us.
Oh, I talk about it. I'm a nurse. I work at Queen Mary's in Sidcup as part of the Dartford and Gravesham team.
But you've had a bit of a difficult time recently because of the coronavirus, and I know you don't like talking about it, and I'm making you laugh now, and I'm so sorry. But actually, Paul, Chris has been, a whole team from Queen Mary's were redeployed to Darren Valley,
Right.
and they've been working on the ICU at Dartford, or ITU. I always get that wrong. Is it ITU or ICU?
Either or works, but
Okay.
myself and all my ODP colleagues and theatre nurses have been redeployed to intensive care. So where we'd normally look after you asleep during surgery, we've been looking after you asleep while you're ventilated, hopefully recovering from COVID-19.
It's been a really tough job, and they've done a fantastic job.
Yeah.
So one of the things I want to do this year is to actually thank them and support them, and we're going to do a little bit more as the year goes on in thanking our NHS workers and key workers and delivery drivers and everyone else who've come together, especially those, Paul, that have delivered bread.
Yes.
We went and visited a bread factory on Monday,
Yes,
didn't we?
Hovis.
Hovis Bread have been delivering thousands of loads of bread to the borough to give
Give
out,
them free from Hovis.
all for free,
yes.
absolutely, to support our residents. It's been
Yeah.
fantastic.
So, brilliant. Thank you, Mayoress.
Thank you.
So a couple to go, Mr. Mayor. What do you hope to have achieved at the end of your mayoral year?
To start with, not to be killed by the mayoress is always a good one, so I'm going to make sure that she knows absolutely everything we're doing this year.
Yes.
I have a bit of a reputation for not writing things down, so I need to make sure that I put things down on my calendar. But what I want to achieve this year, I want to be able to say that I've left at the end of this year as mayor, because obviously we only do it for a year. I want to, I've done all I can to support Bexley, to have done everything I can to support our residents and got the community together. The coronavirus and everything we've gone through recently have brought the community together, and I want to make sure that going forward we keep that going, to keep the volunteers going, so that we've got volunteers that are really active and part of the borough again, and really just support the vulnerable, because we have got some of the most vulnerable residents living in our borough and in London, and I want to make sure that we look after them.
Fantastic. Okay, Mr. Mayor, last question. Are you able to travel in the mayoral car at the moment? And if you do, how do you keep yourself and Paul safe? And also, where have you been?
Who wrote this? Did you have
I
somebody
don't know,
write these
Mr. Mayor.
questions in? So, up until last Monday, we couldn't use the mayoral car because there's been some rules around it. But actually, for your ingenuity, Paul created a screen using cling film and plastic in the back of the car. So I'm separated in the back of the car from Paul in the front. And also I've got a face mask. So I wear a face mask in the back just to protect you. And we've got some spares as well for you. But we've been able to do that and go out. And so on Monday we went and visited the Hovis bakery over in, it's North Heath, isn't it? I keep calling it here, it's
Yes.
North Heath. I know that as well because the shop was just there. And we went and visited and we thanked the team there. They've given thousands of loaves of bread to the borough during the past few months, and really it was a case of go and meet them and say thank you. And then we went and visited some businesses in Blackfen, but we also got a chance to go and meet the team here that have been running the food hub at the council. And some of the elections team and the regen teams have been coming together and putting food parcels together every day throughout this whole crisis. And we went out and delivered some, didn't we?
Yes,
You and me, we went out in
yes.
the car with our screen,
Yes.
and we went and met some families in Slade Green and some families in Welling. And there was another one actually over in North End as well.
Yes.
So at Slade Green. And we went out and we met them and we had a chat, and then we went and met the businesses in Blackfen. We went and saw the Premier Autos, and we went to HB Academy, and we met the team there and saw them getting back to normal. Because at the moment we really need to get the borough back and running again. And if we watch this video in a year's time, I hope that we can look back on it and think actually it's up and running and we found a new normal and things are slowly getting
because
back to normal.
you visiting those businesses and putting it on your Facebook page,
Yep.
Mr. Mayor. Some of those pages are getting 9,000 hits.
They are.
That is priceless for some of these businesses.
My first
To
video,
let
Paul,
people know they're back open.
my first video that I did welcoming and telling everyone about what I was doing and thanking all the volunteers, I think actually I got to about 12,000 people in the end. I did a tweet the other day and it reached 48,000 people, so I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing. It's all very odd.
Yeah, but that's fantastic.
I thought it might be my lockdown haircut that is the thing. You know, I really can't wait to be able to get my haircut again because it's.
I thought you were wearing a crash helmet.
Thank you, Paul. You wait till we try and get that hat on
Your
later
worship.
because.
Okay, well that leads us nicely on, Mr. Mayor. Normally, as I said, I would dress the mayor as the mayor's attendant. I'm sure you guys will get dressed by yourselves in the morning. but you'll see whatever goes on with the mare, all the cuffs and the jabot, you'll see that the mare needs an attendant. So because of social distancing, the mayoress has kindly offered to dress the mare.
Because you live in my bubble, don't you, dear?
Yes, so thank you,
Oh,
mayoress.
I love you.
So what we do is we'll take the mare's chain off and lay it on this cushion to keep it safe.
Oh.
No pressure, mayoress.
Do we get in trouble for chocolate?
No, you get in trouble if you stuck in my hair, though. I really need to get this cut.
Bend down, right?
Fantastic. Okay. So
Oh, now I'll
throw it. So the first item to go on in the mare's robes would be the jabot. And that's like a bib. Now I'm not saying that the mare is a messy eater.
Oh, come on, Paul. You saw me eat last year as deputy mayor. You know I'm a messy
I'm trying to
eater.
be polite, Mr.
I know
Mayor.
you are.
Hundreds of years ago, when you'll see the mayor put the robes on, they didn't have dry cleaners. If we have a spillage nowadays, that we can go to the dry cleaners and specialists to get
I think
it.
it's a bit cheap. There's a bit of gravy on this, too.
No, Mr. Mayor, no way.
It's only me who wore it last, so I won't worry too much.
When they were eating their Kentucky Fried Chicken on McDonald's 300 years ago, it was probably pheasant or chicken. They would be tearing it apart because there was no knives or forks. They would use that to wipe their hands to protect the robes. Next to go on are the mare's cuffs. And although all these items look very nice and frilly, they did actually have a purpose. So again, when you're indoors, when you have a bath, you pull the plug out and the water disappears. And that's partly down to Sir Joseph Bazalgette, who was instrumental in bringing the sewage system and the pipes to London. If you get a chance in your local, get down to the Crossness Engines in Thamesmead. It's a fantastic museum down there. So all your toilet water, years ago there was no flushing system, it all went out into the street. Your dinners, when you couldn't finish your dinner, you scrape it all out into the street, out the top window. Now you know how Brussels sprouts smell when they're fresh. You imagine when they've been in the street for 3 months and they're hitting people that are in the streets, all in their hair. It was ghastly. So when the smells came through the windows, the mayor would sprinkle, or the lord would sprinkle perfume onto the cuffs, and then they would sniff and it would take away the horrible smell. If you was doing my job and you was in the servants' quarters downstairs, you'd be trying to eat your dinner like that because the smell would have been horrendous.
What, literally just like that?
Literally like that.
Ah.
Because the mace bearers didn't have robes and stuff, do you know what I mean? So there's the mayor with his cuffs and his jabot. Next to go on is the mayor's robes.
Oh.
Very, very heavy. And that's where I said about my part of my role as the attendant. When the mayor's got these on, yes, the mayor's quite capable of going to get a glass of water, but if he's on the top table or he's giving out certificates, he can't just go wandering off. So a good attendant will keep an eye on the mayor and make sure that he's fed and watered and doesn't get too hot in the robes. So,
is that what you're meant to
Mayor,
do?
if I could just move you that way slightly.
I don't remember it going off much last year. Get me. No, I'm joking, Paul. You're great.
He was only the deputy, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, Deputy Mayoress. If you're Deputy Mayor, even if you're watching this, don't listen to him.
So if the camera can just pan to the, Mr. Mayor, if we go that way, just like if the
Right.
camera can pan to these chains. These are kept in a vault at the civic offices, and it takes 2 people to open that vault. So you've got the old deputy mayor's chain, the Chislehurst and Sidcup chain. Remember I said in 1965 when there were 4 town councils, then you've got 3 chains for Erith and a Crayford chain. So quite a bit of wealth there. That's why they're kept locked up in a huge vault, and it takes 2 people to open that vault. I'll show you this picture. This chap was Mayor of Erith, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, in 1960-61, and there was a young man that worked downstairs, and he told me that his granddad was the Mayor of Erith, or his great-granddad I think it was, and he brought me some pictures in.
Aww.
So fantastic, and they go with the chain. And his name, Miss Councillor Locke, is put on one of these links. I used to inscribe the name onto the...
Do I get my name onto this one afterwards?
You don't, Mr. Mayor, because we don't do that. So if anyone at home got any pictures of grandparents or great-parents that were Mayor of Bexley, Erith or Sidcup, anything like that, please send them in to the Mayor and we can put them with our display. So the next thing to go on are the Mayor's gloves. Oh, well, the gloves can go on, that's right, Miss. The Mayor's gloves can go on, and that's quite poignant today because of where we are with the coronavirus. Hundreds of years ago, there was 125 people a day dying in the streets of London from Brussels sprout smells. but there was typhoid and all sorts of diseases.
I've always said Brussels sprouts are bad for you.
Yeah, I don't like them. And so when the mayor would leave their house, today, the likes of David Beckham and all these famous people, they're away, their houses are off land. But years ago, literally, you could have a wealthy person and their doorstep would lead out into the streets of London. So there would be, for want of another word, I don't like this word, but peasants, poor people, people with diseases. So the mayor wouldn't, or the Lord wouldn't choose to shake hands with these people. But
I don't have a problem shaking anybody's hand because I live in an end of terrace. I don't live in a bit. Sorry.
No, but we're talking hundreds of years ago.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
When there was proper disease. But today, Mr. Mayor, you would wear your gloves to shake hands with people because we're in that place with the coronavirus.
We are,
so
absolutely.
So the next
We've
to go
even
back
stocked
on,
up on hand sanitizer, haven't we, Paul?
absolutely. So the next to go on is the mayor's chain. That goes back on. It's held in place by some ribbons.
Stuff in my hair again.
And either side of the robes, if you see, there's two parchment pockets. And that's not for the mayor's packed lunch. I'm sure you guys have all got tablets and laptops. Well, hundreds of years ago, they didn't have that. So the mayor would be on a stagecoach, going from town to town, and he would write a letter to somebody, roll it up into a scroll, tie a piece of ribbon around it, and they would slide into those parchment pockets there, and he would keep it safe. If you see
Stand
the
over
fur,
there. Get back. Get back.
if you see the fur on there, that's hamster fur. I had to kill 100 hamsters to make that. No, I didn't
Are you
really.
serious?
No, I didn't really. We say that when we have the little ones and try and see if we can make them cry. No, we would never use real fur today.
Oh, that's okay then.
Again, I know I keep saying it, but hundreds of years ago, if you was wealthy and you had the robes and the chain, you wanted the people to see your wealth, you would use real fur. And it was a Canadian rodent called a musquash.
A musquash?
A musquash.
A musquash?
Musquash.
Wow.
That was, so it's a really unlucky rat because it had beautiful fur. And so they used to use that fur to make the robes. We bought these robes about 25 years ago. We'll never be allowed to buy any more robes. So I've got to make sure that I look after these. And you'll see just to the side there, we keep the robes kept covered at all times. They're always hung up.
How did you do, Paul?
Which hasn't finished yet, Mr.
Oh,
Mayor.
oh.
So the final piece to go on for the mayor's robes is his hat. Now, it's got some gold braid, and the gold braid goes to the right-hand side. No, Mr. Mayor, that isn't the correct way to wear it.
No, but it covers my hair up, Paul. Honestly.
It's going to be a year and a half. So the braid goes to the mayor's right, and we believe that when I carry the mace, it goes on the right-hand shoulder. When I lay the mace down, the head of the mace goes to the mayor's right-hand side. And we believe that years ago, 50, 60 years ago, if you was left-handed, they thought you was odd. So they used to tie the hand behind the back, the school teachers, to make the children write with their right hands. Today, we know that people with left hand aren't odd. Well, no odder than anybody else.
Well, no.
So, but that's why we think that
I can
everything
write
goes.
both.
Yeah, ambidextrous. Is
I am
that-
ambidextrous.
Really fantastic.
Paul, I've got a quick question.
Yes.
Have I got any special powers as mayor? Can I do anything? I don't know. We've already said that I can't move into Danson House, but can I do anything? Can I put people in prison or anything?
No, I don't think so, Mr. Mayor. It's more of a ceremonial role.
Okay.
But touching on that, Mr. Mayor, is a good point because the mayor isn't allowed to get into any political arguments, debates, and that's where the skills come in from a good attendant that you never embarrass the mayor. But I've had it a couple of times when it starts getting a bit heated and they're talking about something political, and you've got to somehow move the mayor along without seeming to be rude.
I will not do politics this year.
Fantastic, thank you. So there's the mayor in his robes. If I can come across there, Mayoress.
Yep.
When the mayor's in his robes, I occasionally have to wear my robes.
Oh, very smart.
I would never put my robes on if the mayor isn't in his robes. So you'd never see a mace bearer in his robes if the mayor wasn't present in his robes. So my hat with the braid to the right-hand side.
And now we really do look like something from the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Absolutely. Normally kids down there say they look like Dick Turpin. But what I would say, I know it's a funny outfit, and when you look you think, oh, it's a bit stuff. There's lots of bakers and pizza delivery drivers, doctors, dentists, bank managers, you know, lots and lots of different jobs, dustmen. But in Bexley there's only one mace bearer, only one person that's allowed to carry this. So I'm proud of that, Mr. Mayor.
You're doing a great job.
It goes on my right hand shoulder, as I said. The mayor would be behind me. We'll keep our distance because of self-distancing, but normally the mayor would be a little bit closer and the mayoress could stand beside the mayor, and we would process into Buckingham Palace or into Westminster Abbey. And what we say to the mayor always, when we go to Westminster Abbey, there's hundreds of people, because lots of Americans don't have any of this tradition anymore, and they love to see this. All 33 mayors processing in. Nobody's allowed to walk in between the mayor and the mace. If somebody has to cross urgently between all the mayors, you make sure they go behind the other mayor and in front of the mace. No one's allowed to cross and break the seal between the mace and the mayor. And we say to the mayor that if the procession stops, make sure you keep an eye, because the mayor of Bromley kept walking and walked into the back of his mace. He was in front of me and he got a cut eye and a bloody nose.
Last year?
So, no, it was a couple of years ago,
okay.
Mr. Mayor. So there we go, Mr. Mayor. That's, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's the Insignia display. I hope you found it interesting. If I could just ask the Worshipful Mayor of the London Borough of Bexley to sum up, that would be fantastic.
You want me to sum up?
Close the.
I was going to say, you're going to give me the hardest job now. Honestly, it's been interesting doing it this way. We do hope that at some point we can actually get you to come up to the office if we can, to do this in person. We're going to work on this. We've got a year to get this right. We're going to work on the pattern, aren't we, Paul?
Yeah.
This is actually our first go at it as well, so I think we've done really well. Thank you,
I was
Paul.
going to say, if they wanted to write
yeah, no, absolutely, Paul. Don't worry about that. I just really want to thank you, because you do this. This is your thing. You do this all the time, and you know it's a very special part of Bexley to have you doing this, because I can't do it. And I tried the other night to do it with some cubs, and it was embarrassing. But all I can say is, actually, if you've got any questions, do write to me. If you email mayors.office@bexley.gov.uk, but you can find it on the website. If you Google Mayor of Bexley, you can find us. And send us questions. If you've got any questions about the Insignia, if you want to come and see it at some point, we'll try and get you to come up and see it. But the video's there. Look at the video. If you've got any questions, send them in, because we're really happy to have a chat with you. Paul?
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayoress. Job done.